Okay, so I'm going to talk about my favorite way to build your business, and that is with lead generating events. Okay, so this is how I've built my business from day one. I had no idea what warm chatter was when I came in to the business. And it was a good thing because I probably would not have signed my agreement if I thought you had to do that. I still do not do that. A lot of people have made their career on it. Good for them. I don't do it. I've had to find my own ways. I do something similar, but if I've struck up a conversation. I can talk to a brick wall, but I will not go headhunt. I spend too much money if I go headhunt. Oh my goodness. So I will not go headhunt for customers. But what I did, hang on for a second. What I did was I did lead generating events, and I started off with children's consignment sales. So I wrote down some things because I didn't want to forget anything. But so here's some tips, things to do, things not to do when you're working a booth. Okay, and then we're going to lead into when you're doing, break room. Hang on, let me make sure we've got everybody off mute. Hang on. Okay. So we're going to start with lead generating events such as booths, vendor booths, and things like that. And then we're going to lead into the, office, break room, show and sell. So first of all, when you are looking for vendor opportunities, you could do anything. You always just kind of have a, think outside the box mentality, but you always want to make sure when you call, hang on, I hear some noise. Okay. When you call to find out, you've got several questions that you need to ask. The first one is, am I the only Mary Kay representative that you have? Okay. Will I be the only one? Okay. Will you commit to me that I'm going to be the only one? Here's why. It is a waste of time if you get there and there's another Mary Kay person there. Okay. Mary Kay, out of all the direct sales, we know how to work a lead. I've had so many salesmen tell me that, even people that have been doing, vendor opportunities or vendor booths for years. They'll say, Mary Kay consultants know how to work a lead. So it is a waste of time if you're both fighting for the same name. You don't ever want to do that. So you want to get that commitment first. The second is you want to always look at the cost versus how many people were in attendance last year. Okay. If this is the first time that they are doing the booth, there's no baseline numbers, you're going to have to really dig deep and kind of find out, where are you advertising this? What is your expectations? You've got to find out, because it's a numbers game. Okay. It's a third. And so if you're paying, $800 for a baby expo, but only 3,000 people show up, it's not going to happen. So the way I created my baseline was, one of the big booths that I used to do was a baby expo that was sponsored by Babies R Us and the Parent Book. Okay. And so those were huge companies that were pouring in with advertising. Now, when I started, there was already a baseline of like 20,000 people that would come in attendance, and they would pay to get in. That was another plus. When people pay to get in an event, there's money, there's quality, okay? And so that's another indication that you're going to really be able to make your money back and really be able to get something from that. So this baby expo, 20,000 in attendees every year, but the cost was $800. But I could have 8 workers for each day because it was huge, and we all pay $100, and we would all get 100 names each. We would get about 800 names. So that gave me something to work with when I was doing these big, huge booths. I didn't start with those huge ones. I started, however, with the small local children's consignment sales. And it would just be those weekend inside a church fellowship. And I would pay, I'd pay $100 for the weekend. Or it would be like Thursday night, Friday, and Saturday. Okay. So but here's the deal. Back in the day, women just flocked. I mean, they would be waiting and wrapped around the church waiting to get in. So $100 was nothing. Now, the demographics have changed. We talked about that on Voxer the other day. And I wouldn't pay $100 for a children's consignment sale if it was the last one on earth, because they're just not attracting that many people, and there's so many of them. Okay. So that's kind of what I go by when I decide if there is enough, foot traffic to justify the cost that's going to give me enough names working those leads, and that's what I go by. So you've got to look at that. Let's see, hold on. I'm looking up numbers. Now, when you are doing something so let's go back to the Baby Expo. So the old Baby Expo stopped. They stopped doing it, and there wasn't a Baby Expo for a couple years. And this other event coordinator decided to create a business and start doing Baby Expos. And it was at the Fox Theater. And that's actually how I met Marianne. But I think that day, Marianne was I was the only one that got something from that event. And I kept doing it. And she just wasn't spending the money on advertising that to generate the cost of what she was charging. She had come down a little bit on the cost, but it just wasn't enough. So I stopped it. And I picked it back up here and there, giving it a try. But if the horse is dead, you got to get off. So we just recently picked another one back up. And it was her event, but she sold it to Atlanta Parent Magazine, which is a huge company, and they're advertising in their Atlanta magazine. 60,000, magazines go out every month. And so I felt like, hey, I'm going to give this a shot again. But you kind of see my mind and my numbers. I'm just always being realistic that, oh my gosh, on a good day, if there's 20,000 people there, I should get 800 names. Okay. If they can't tell you they're going to bring in 20,000 people, don't pay $800. You want to pay something like 50 or 75. So here's some things. So once you get your booth set up, I don't recommend that you do a demonstration. Okay. Done that before. I really kind of was against it, but had a new consultant that, wanted to do it. And it just seems like I didn't even bother with it. They did it. It just seemed like a lot of work. Didn't attract any more activity than our regular, people coming to the table attracted. And so I'm just kind of telling you, I'm just not a fan of doing any work while you're there, other than just standing there smiling, asking people to come to your table. Now, let's talk about being picky. So, good thing is that when people pay to get in, there's usually good quality. So you've got, the good, high quality people. Now, if you're at, say, I was at I'm not going to name it because I don't want to offend anybody and where they live and stuff like that. But I was at it was at a town that had a lot of pageants, and they had a festival because they had crowned the queen of that festival. You get it. And it was on like it was like a fairground. And so you had all types of people. So when you do have all types of people, whenever they come up to register, let's say this is your registration card, they're filling it out on the clipboard. I always reach for that. I never let them put it in the bag themselves, because I'm going to take it and I'm going to write a note on it. Okay. I'm going to write an X if I don't ever want to go to their house. Okay. If they're meth mouth and covered in tattoos and their teeth are gone, no offense, I'm not going to a meth meth house. I'm going to write an X so that when we divide out the names, we know to take this out. I am not going to send my consultants into a place where they could be in danger. Okay? Now, I wouldn't have stopped her to begin with, so let's just go there. I hate that this is being recorded, but hey, I'm going to be real and raw with you. I would not stop and talk to that person. If you ever do a booth with me, you watch me, a hand pick. And actually, I have been sent to places where I would have not have gone because we used to just throw all the names in the hat and divide them out. And I decided to start taking the names that I stopped, I put them in my pocket because I've sat there, worked it. I know I'm picky. Yes, I'm picky. And I did the work. I talked to her. I got her name. I put her in a pocket. Like Mary Ann. That's why she's my sales director. Because I've been sent to houses where I wouldn't have gone. I would not have stopped that person. And I would come home mad. Like, I would go in like, whose writing is this on the back? Like, who stopped this woman? She didn't buy anything. She was never going to buy anything. She's just not the high-end quality that I was looking for. So when you are there, you be very picky so that you don't waste your time and you don't waste your money and your gift certificate. We are not here to save the world. We're not Jesus, okay? We are selling a high-end cosmetics, and if they don't have any money, they're broke. They're broke. They can't help it. And so, it is what it is. Now, so we write an X. Now, if, let's say, and this happens a lot at bridal fairs, baby expos, you've got mama, you've got sister, you've got the bride, or you've got the pregnant mom, the grandmother, the sister. They all come together and they all are sitting there registering. You don't want to separate them out and have, say, Mary Ann get the sister, I get the mom, somebody else gets the grandmother, and then we're all kind of like competing for the same family. So here's what you do. You start off with 1. So let's say a group comes up and they're together. You write cute family 1, and each of their cards on the back, cute family 1. So when we go to divide them out, we see 1, we look for all the 1s. Put those together, that's 1 name you give to 1 consultant. Then when another group comes up, we'll say, hey guys, what number are we on? We're on 2. We're going to write, there's another group, 2. Then we put those together and we know that there's a group, that we're going to put together. One person's going to get those 3 or 2 names. You go through, sometimes you get to 15. What number are we on? We're on 15 now, so you write 15. That way you keep the family together, okay? And one person gets those. Who do you decide to call? It's up to you. I Google who's got the best house. This is really should not be recorded. I do. Whoever has the biggest house is who I call. I Google their address. But you want to make the money I make, you do what I do. There you go. I'm not wasting my time. My time is very important to me. And so that's how you keep the names together. All right, so let's go down my list. Let's see, we talked about grouping them. Now, we also, to generate hourly traffic, okay, about 15 minutes before the hour, the consultants who are working the table, you leave 1 or 2 at the table, 2 or 3 go out, depending on how many are working. If it's just 2 of you, 1 go out, you take turns, 1 stays at the table. You go out around the traffic and you, with your clipboard, and you're like, hey, I said, hey, Mary Ann, we're getting ready to do our hourly drawing. Would you like to register? We'll text you if you're a winner. You can drop by because we're having hourly winners. Boom. That can generate 10, 15 new names right there within that hour, okay? And then you've got that surge of names because you've got a window of, you get them before lunch, then it dies down at lunch, and they come in after lunch. But you've got to be, it's a numbers thing. You've got to get a lot of numbers in order to make this work for you and for you to make it worth your while that you stood there for an entire day. And you want, and so quality and numbers. All right, so let's talk about keep names stapled. Oh, so you guys know I have a little spiral notebook. I have every every lead that I ever got, and I get the little notebooks at the Dollar Tree, and each page I staple the lead on that page, and so I make notes, left a message. I could go find, if I was in my office, I could pull right now the registration card that Marianne filled out, and you would see how many times she canceled with me. Okay, I still have that. I could probably go find the original baby expo that I met Jennifer's cousin, I think it was Ashley, her cousin's wife at, and you would see that note, and you would see what day I booked her, and how many people she wanted to bring. So I keep them all, and I keep them in those little notebooks. So that's how I keep up with it, because you're going to have loose pieces of paper all over your office, and you have to have a system. Follow up is the key. If they say, oh, this month's not a good time, can you call me back next month? You have to be diligent. You have to have your systems in place that you don't forget that you're supposed to call somebody back to book her in November. You know, that's unorganization, and unorganization is just money flying out the window. Okay. Now, my systems are not the best in the world, but they work. Okay. They work. All right. So let's talk about office, show, and sell. I have always had really, really great luck with these. And I know you will too. I know we all have doctor's offices. We have dentists. We have banks, we have insurance agencies, we have places that we give business. We have customers that work in offices. You will inherit customers that work in offices. And so whenever you do, you be ready to jump on the opportunity to, especially this time of year, to have, you know, your holiday show and sell in the break room. And you make friends with the office manager, maybe make friends with the receptionist, give her a, you know, half price item, or give her all her products that she wants half price just to get you in, but tell her not to tell anybody. And she gets you in. You just have them decide if they want you to bring a cheesecake, those little mini cheesecakes you can get. If you're local to me, you know, there's a wonderful woman who makes amazing cheesecakes for super cheap. If you're not, I think BJ's has a box of Cheesecake Factory mini cheesecakes. Those are perfect. Box of Job, you can buy a box of Job at Dunkin' Donut. If they want lunch, Little Caesars pizza and soda, breadsticks, whatever. But you have to have a display, okay? But you have to demo products that have a wow factor, okay? So these are the things that I would always demo on the back of one hand, okay? I would always clean with the cleanser, 4-in-1 cleanser, no other kind of cleanser, okay? Because that's going to be for everybody. You can just pick and choose. If you do another different cleanser that's very specific to their you know, their age, but do 4-in-1. But always do normal to dry on the hands, because everybody's hands are dry. Okay, but you sell them what their face needs. You get it. Hopefully, you know, most everybody's intelligent enough to do that. So you clean their hand. Then you're going to do microdermabrasion step 1. I'm not going to do step 2 because you're going to lose them. You got to be quick. Okay, because they're on their break, they want to eat, they want to shop. So you do microdermabrasion because it's going to exfoliate that hand. Then you're going to do serum C, and then you're going to show them the toning lotion. You're going to have all the visual aids. Okay, that's why I sell $600 to $700 in 1 hour, because then we compare. Then I do CC cream on the back, and maybe dust a little mineral powder. Boom, I sell CC cream and mineral powder, and I have the brush out, and I do the little brush. You got to be smart. You've got to set the stage. You've got to create that ticket for them to buy all of that from that wow factor. Okay. Don't go in there just thinking, oh, I hope they buy something. You be on purpose with what you show and what you demo, and you be smart about it, and you'll sell a lot of product. Okay. I'll also have them register for a giveaway. And that's my future bookings, okay? They register and say, I'm giving away pampering sessions and gift certificates. I'm going to have a grand prize. Now you have their name and phone number without asking. Remember, I don't like to ask for that. So I always had to create that. I'm going to always also have little goodie bags with a color card in there. and, the little gift certificate to shop on my website. Everybody gets that. That's what actually brings everybody to the break room. It's announced. She's got goodie bags for everybody. Okay. It's just a color card and my gift certificate and the little bitty, the little sealable bags. You get them at Hobby Lobby. There's like 1,000 in a bag, and use your 40% off. You just shove them in there. There's no print on them. Actually, it's what you get them in the jewelry department. And so I do a giveaway. And then I also make sure that you take care of the receptionist or whoever got you in. And then you also take care of the office manager who said yes. Always take care of her so that you're always going to be invited back. Now, also, don't forget, they've got to register so that you book them. You're there. You're not really there. You're going to sell, but you're looking for that future business. Future business. Yes, the money's good right then there. That's what you want. But Mary Kay's always saying the future booking is the lifeline. And having that number, when you have their number, you are in control and you have power. And that is a great feeling. Okay. So, all right, I think I covered all of mine. Marianne, do you want to add some things that I may have forgotten, or we can even ask questions? And
real quick, 2 things. I was just going to add in earlier when Michelle mentioned not doing a demonstration. I just want to clarify, you're meaning like doing like a skincare class or like showing a makeup application, like having someone sit in a chair and actually teaching how to do makeup. Don't do that kind of a demonstration. That's what you're saying.
Right.
Okay, just wanted to clarify.
Yes.
Because like for the cooking things, people sit down and watch, and it's just not the same thing. It doesn't work that way for us.
No.
And then when you were talking about grouping the family together, whenever I do, sometimes I'll have groups of friends. So like whenever we do college stuff, let's say there was like a group of 3 or 4 girlfriends that all registered the exact same time. Well, it's kind of awkward if I call one friend and say she's the winner, and then I call the other friend, she's also a winner. Then they're like, wait a minute, are we all winners? This is not real. And so I make a list, and if, I have them all on that one with the cards. They're all grouped together. Mm-hmm. And so if one girl doesn't answer me and doesn't book, and then I call the next one. And so that way they have the opportunity to invite all those friends to the party, whichever one answers the call, because they're the ones with the influence. And so they're more likely to get me in front of all those people versus me calling them. And then also, you have about a 24 to 48 hour window for calling those people to have your best results. Because after that, they're going to get back into their daily routine. And even if they won, they may not care anymore. They're not excited anymore. They're not on the high of the emotion of that fun event. And so sometimes you'll find the longer you sit on those names, you lose more and more and more and more business. There is actually a rule with calling people that technically it's illegal to call them after 90 days of getting the name. So if you're like, oh my God, I found that bag. Now, I'll be honest, I have called people after that, especially after maternity leave. But just so you know, if someone was ever like, well, that was 6 months ago, you're not allowed to call me. They're the one person in the world who actually knows that rule. I learned that one from my husband. So just, you pick that as you want. So that's all.
Yeah, they're going to send the lead police to get you. Yeah, so Marianne is right. You group those together in your notebook. That's when I said you call the one with the biggest house because you're going to Google her house. And then if she doesn't answer, you go to the next one. All right, Trinity, do you want to share some things about, because you do a lot of booths too.
Yeah, my best advice is that, just like Michelle said, whenever you're encountering these people, take the best notes that you possibly can, because you're going to completely forget the next day. You're not going to remember who they are. If someone comes up to me and they're in a Georgia shirt, even if it's the most basic thing, I'll have a conversation with them about Georgia and how they're playing this year and all of that. And so then I can remember the next day, oh, this was the Georgia fan. One time I called a woman who was going to Disney the next week, and I was like, oh my gosh, you won, congratulations, this must be your lucky week because you're going to Disney too. And she was like, you remembered. She felt so special. And so that's such an important thing for you, so that you can be safe and be prepared and know what you're working with and controlling your paycheck. but also so that you can make them feel important. If I ever have a mother and a daughter walk up together, my rule of thumb is that I call the daughter, because the mother will come to the daughter's party, but the daughter won't always come to the mother's party. So that's just my rule of thumb that I always have learned, that the mother will always support the daughter, but sometimes that daughter will not show up. So if you're trying to get them together, so I always put mother or daughter on there. And then just like Marianne said, if there's a group of college girls, I'll write down notes of who is the nicest, who seems like they might have a party. Just keep notes of that. Like, call this one big star. And I've put a big NO on people's cards too. Like, do not call this person. Like, absolutely not. Sometimes I'll just accidentally throw it away. But just so that you know that. You can also find vendor events on Facebook. You can go to the event spot on there. And so you go onto Facebook, click events, and then you can type in the area that you want to do events. So my sister lives in Nashville. So if I'm ever going to go visit her for a weekend and I want to do an event, I can type in Nashville and see what events are coming up in Nashville for Halloween, trunk or treat, different things like that are going to be outdoors or even indoors. I like indoors better because you never know with the weather. And so then you're able to book events based on the location you want to work in. If you're trying to work outside of your area, because your area is not very popular. My best events, believe it or not, have been at schools. I know that sounds crazy, but and it might be because I'm a teacher and so I know people there, but even schools I don't know people I've been to before. There's teachers, there's young moms, all these people that are possibly like willing to start a business, different things like that. And so I do really well at schools, and every single school has a fall carnival or a spring carnival, and they're like $25. And so if you and another consultant split that, I mean, it's a no-brainer. I've sold hundreds of dollars at a vendor event before at schools. Like, it just blows my mind. They end up being really, really good. So I like to call the school and just ask for the PTO president and see when their fall carnival is and see if they have a Mary Kay lady. Sometimes they're free. If you bring your own table, they're free. So those are really awesome. Because you're going to be in front of that environment. So that's my favorite thing to do because of the cost and because of the exposure to the people. So that's just my thought on vendor events. They are the reason that I am a director. Vendor events are my favorite. So.
Yep, mine too. All right, so before we end, I just want to, Trinity reminded me of something. So there's a couple directors down here that always go into the schools during the holidays. And I know you guys are all spread out, so you're not in my local area, because I don't know if they've got every school tapped out. I don't know how they can physically do every school, but they actually call the principal. They can come and do like a teacher appreciation day right before they get out, for the holidays, and that whatever they sell, they'll donate it back to the school. It's almost like a school fundraiser. So you guys think about doing something like that, because like Trinity said, it's very lucrative. And to have those teachers, it's just easy. They do stay so busy and they do put in a lot of hours. And if you can just drop their products off at the school, they love that service. Okay. Okay, good. Anybody else want to add anything? Okay. All right. So we're going to end tonight, and this is recorded, of course. Hope I don't get in trouble. Oh, well, it's the truth. All right. So it's recorded, and it will be posted by tomorrow. So thanks for calling in, guys. Good night. Good night.